one, but like,
You can keep talking still. And then I'm just
okay.
setting up to stream to Facebook. So I'll let you know when we're streaming
Oh, okay,
to
cool.
Facebook.
I'll just leave it. It's fine.
It's up to you. There's time. And if we're a few minutes late, that's okay too.
Um, I didn't even think of that piece. I'll just leave it because it's going to take me too long and I'm too indecisive. So it's totally fine.
Okay. Well, let's just start and let's wing it.
Or sounds good to me.
Okay. So it's saying that we're about to go live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a minute to send it out to my business page. And then if you want to also share it on your Facebook page.
Or is it just like a link on Facebook itself?
Yeah. So if you go underneath Robin's Healing, like underneath my personal profile, you'll see that I'm live.
Okay, cool.
And then once you see that, you'll see underneath my name, Danielle podcast, Trusting Spirit. Probably want to edit that too.
Yeah, this is definitely not my podcast. That's funny. Yeah, no, I can do that. I'll do that right now.
Okay. And then I'm going to also share it out on my stuff. And anyone else that feels called to doing that, that's helpful because then we can reach more people. And ultimately, that's the goal.
100%.
So, my goal today is to have you on and discuss the importance of trusting spirit. And it's really open, but what I would like to do is help more people start understanding, I guess, what all that means.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are also in Spirit Talker Tribe, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I almost feel like some of the learnings from that can be helpful for people too, just for us to kind of like discuss some things that we've gotten from that experience, and kind of like why you feel it's important to be in maybe groups like that or be around people like that, et cetera, et cetera. And Shirley Zeman is saying hello. She's also in our group, I believe.
Hey, Shirley.
And I'm still getting to know people. Like I've never met you before either. So
yeah, it's weird to think sometimes, like you kind of forget, like just because of the format of the course and everything, like you don't realize sometimes like, oh, I don't actually interact with this person on like a physical level very often or like see them in person, but it's like, oh, I feel like I know you or what have you. So it's pretty cool.
It is. It's awesome. So I'm just going to kind of introduce myself just if people are new, because there are probably quite a few people that I'll turn my phone down. How about that? Quite a few people who don't know me. So my name is Robin Jardine, and I'm going to be changing my last name in like 3 weeks. So that'll be Robin Horseman.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so Robin's Healing was created, I'd say like 7 or 8 years ago. It changes every time I do the podcast and introduce myself. So apparently I don't know the specifics. I feel like I want to be funny today. I feel like everybody needs more laughter.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I am an intuitive. So I basically connect with spirit. I connect within my own spirit, aka meaning I tune into my senses, I go into my heart space, I work on my physical body as much as I can to really work on developing my own skills by continuously learning and being a part of groups and classes and educating myself. So I have a background in psychology. My goal with my psychology degree was basically to help people go into either a counseling setting or psychologist, something, because I always knew that I had the gift of not energy work, because that took a while for me to uncover, but just the gift of being able to feel into other people's emotions, being an empath. And what I really struggled with on my journey was learning the tools so that it didn't affect me in a negative way. I didn't see it as a negative thing, but without the tools, it really felt like it was a very overwhelming gift that I had. And I feel like that's why I'm so passionate about educating other people about their own gifts and giving them more skills and tools. So that's my ultimate goal here with us today, but also as I continue to do this podcast is I do theta healing downloads in every podcast, which is basically helping people release something that's holding them back, and then working on shifting the energy over to attracting what it is that they want. And all you have to do is agree that you want to do that. And often what happens is in my I'm going to say clinical settings, a lot of people have a lot of emotional blocks and they don't realize it because a lot of it can be unconscious. And so I feel like that's where you're probably going to chime in and tap into more of that, like unconscious mind stuff, like the dream interpretations, the mediumship, and how and maybe how we can learn to tap into what's underneath the surface a bit more, because I have some of those tools, but I feel like you probably have a lot of different ones that I don't. So between the two of us, maybe we can help more people. And if anybody has any more questions about me, you can just inbox me, ask questions. I have a website, robinsealing.com, where I do my best to update. I also have a membership group where you pay a monthly fee. And even at a beginner level, we do lots of now interactive stuff with meditations and, again, theta healing. And I'm also creating my own support group for people. So Sean Leonard's Spirit Talker tribe, being in that kind of inspired me to create that for other people as well. And I don't do it the exact same way, but I'm also noticing that it's bringing like really good people into the same space. And I think more people need that right now.
100%.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of my blurb. And I'm just going to get you to introduce yourself and kind of just like touch on anything even that you do.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just, yours is really good. You're really well polished. So I really appreciate like how clear and concise that was. That was really good.
Thank you. You wouldn't think that if you could see me right now.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's all an illusion. So it's always good to be able to, yeah, anyway. But like no, I my background, I guess, like originally was like I went to university as well. I took gender and women's studies, and I have like a minor in film studies, which is like it kind of reflected that, like, I mean, I went to school just to like learn more about myself, I think. And wanting to help people at the same time as well. And in terms of like spiritual beliefs and practices, like, there was a lot of innate things that I felt like I was born with, in a sense. And like, I had a really nurturing upbringing in the sense that I wasn't like chastised for those beliefs, or, if you see a spirit, it's not like, oh, you're insane, here's some like psychology or like some medication to like diminish that. It's like, I'm going to nurture that kind of trait in you. And so like, I was very appreciative of that growing up. And obviously like the Spirit Talker tribe has been essential for developing that further and just like nurturing that growth, because there was a period in my life where I kind of like neglected that piece completely. And I kind of came back to myself a bit through the course. And it's been a really amazing journey thus far. And it's, I mean, it's something that you never stop learning. Obviously, you never stop growing. It's something that I'd like to pursue more as a career, obviously. And like, I'm doing Nova Tarot currently, which is like primarily like tarot card based. I do pick up on mediumship messages with the card, not through the cards, but as I do readings as well. But primarily right now it's more developed on like the psychic piece, but like I do also pick up on spirit messages as well. So
cool. So could you tell us how you do that when you say like I pick up spirit messages? Like, do you know how you tune in?
Yeah, like, I mean, it depends on like the spirit sometimes. Sometimes I get like I can just use a couple of examples. Because like I found like when it came on, it was like it wasn't super obvious at first. Like I remember one of the first readings I did, I was just like helping, not helping. I had a friend help me out by letting me vibe her out. And I did a reading for her, and it came up that she was going to be a grandmother soon. And then she was like, well, I haven't been told anything. And then a few minutes later, I got a message from her son. who I wasn't even friends with on Facebook. And he was like, can you do a reading for me? And I was like, sure. And then it came up, in the reading that he and his girlfriend were pregnant.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. And then in the through the reading, it came up that her father had passed away. And then after the reading was over, I was just hanging out and I started hitting this like thudding feeling in my ear. Like it felt like a tiny person had a little hammer hammering inside my ear. And I was like, okay, that's annoying. Like whatever this is not going away. And I was like, and then I got the impression it was her father potentially. So I messaged the guy I talked to and I was like, just for like instance, like, would she, like your girlfriend, or did her father have like hearing loss or was he deaf or something? Because I'm having this feeling that's not going away. And anyway, so he messaged me back and he was like, yeah, he had really bad cancer before he passed. And the treatments actually caused him to become deaf. And like it was something that towards the end of his life, he could not hear a thing. And I was like, okay, so that's his way of getting my attention, just to send a little bit more of a message saying, I'm around right now. I'm very much aware that this baby is coming into this world. I'm very much aware of the great things happening in my daughter's life. And I just want her to know that I'm very much aware of all of it. So it's like that kind of thing where it's like, that was like the best way I can describe it. It's like that kind of sense where it's like, I wasn't even aware it was really spirit. I just felt like it might be because like clairsentience is really strong, I find with me. So it's like, it's really hard sometimes to like, I mean, there's been times where I'm like, do I go to the hospital right now? Because, and like, unless I know, you know what I mean? Like, unless I relay the message and it goes away, then I know for certain it's not mine. But sometimes it's so physical, it's hard for me to kind of differentiate between.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're sharing that because I think that's what probably most people struggle with that are probably watching is being a person who absorbs energy, positive and negative. When we're
Absolutely.
really sensitive, especially if we have any, and we all have intuitive gifts, by the way, but when we are extremely on that like hypersensitivity, whether that's a result of trauma or because I find a lot of sensitivities can come in from trauma,
Yeah.
things like that. A lot of highly anxious people can be very highly intuitive people, and sometimes we categorize those people as, like you were saying, mentally ill when they could actually be feeling someone else's anxiety and they don't really know how to differentiate between theirs and someone else's, and they take on all this heaviness and they continue to feel that to the point where they might become depressed or exhausted and can't work.
Yeah.
um, Things like that. I just feel like sharing that because a lot of people don't recognize when they're doing it, because if they did, they would probably change it. As I was
Mhm.
saying with tools, that's how I felt anyway. I had a lot of like depression and not anxiety, but just like a lot of overwhelm by other people's problems. Even at a young age, I felt like a lot of people would always talk to me about their problems, and then I didn't know what to do with that. Like I'm like, okay, I have to do this for work at some point, but I didn't know what to do with the energy. I guess that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So how would you like how have you learned anyway how to separate, because we're all together, we're all one, all that stuff, right? Like we all feel each other's feelings, that's a positive thing, but when you feel like you need to um, cut the cord or shift back over to your energy, like how do you recommend, what do you recommend?
For me, like for instance, like that example and others, it's like a lot of times, like when it's spirit, especially, I find like like releasing that message, relaying that message to the person it's meant to go towards, that will sever that pain or what have you, that clairsentient tie immediately. And then also like there's like in terms of like cutting cords, like you said, like there's meditations online that are really great on YouTube. There's one especially I like that it's very loving. There's like loving intention invested in that as well.
Mhm.
Like, grounding exercises, like going outside, like feet on the ground, being at the beach, smudging, things like that. But like it is a struggle. Like it is not something that is easy for me to like honestly deal with sometimes, because I'm so empathetic and because like I want to help as many people as I possibly can. It is sometimes difficult for me to like make that separation. But there comes a point where you're like, there is a bit of self-preservation. It's like for me to actually help more people and to do what I'm meant to do, I have to kind of take a step back, because otherwise I'm going to deplete myself completely and not be able to fulfill what I'm meant to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm just getting like self-care.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we always, I feel like we hear this all the time, like always fill your own cup up first, like always put your own safety buckle on first.
Yes,
And
exactly.
but we hear it, but sometimes actually doing it and reminding ourselves of that can be challenging. And I feel like more women fall into that category.
A million.
Um, yeah, because they tend to be more on the intuitive side. Naturally, they tend to be more emotional and in tune because we're the ones that carry the children and the ones that kind of have to feed the children. And it's like a natural quality,
Yeah.
but it's also almost, I feel like, a lesson for all of us to learn is okay, so like when do I take me time? How do I take care of myself? How do I feed myself? Like how do I deal with these emotions? And I
Yeah.
mean, males feel that way too, but I just feel like women tend to have it just a bit more.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I think too, it's like, even like growing up as children, like girls are told like you have to be nice, like you have to, be the nice little girl. And it's like that, like that assumption, or that like that pressure to do that, it makes you harder to say, it makes it harder to say no sometimes to certain things.
Mhm.
And like even just like, yeah, like situations where you're like, maybe I'd rather not be like super friendly. And I mean, even when I used to work doing like grounds work on like Dalhousie campus. And I would have people come up to me on a daily basis, and they're like, you need to smile more. And it's like, I was literally picking up garbage, and it's like, you're telling me to smile more. And I would still smile, but it's like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. But it's
Yeah.
just like,
And
such a
it's like you need to not tell me what to do.
yeah. It's like, I'm literally like, I'm sorry, I'm not like what you want me to be in this moment where I'm like doing a job and picking up garbage. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, but it's like that sense of like, it is kind of always instilled, like, you know, do as much as you can, and be nice about it. So
Yeah, and I get like self-love is really important because we as females we give and we give and we give like love, love, love. If it comes down to sometimes like the parents when they get sick, sometimes like the daughter ends up looking after the parents, right? The expectation of the daughter instead of like the son, just
yeah.
as an example. And I find like if we don't, I guess, have healthy boundaries with people, it becomes easy to feel not just fatigued, but I guess insecure, like you were saying, the pressures of be nice and this and that, as if having boundaries and standing up for yourself is wrong, like to speak
Absolutely,
to speak
yeah.
up and things. So do you find that you've struggled with that a lot with throat, like more throat chakra work?
It's one of the, yeah, exactly, like 100%. It's like I just noticed, like I thought, and I find with themes in my life, it's like I find like there's moments in life where things are like reoccur, and it's like I look at it from like a different perspective, and than I did maybe originally when it first happened. I don't know if that's like the same for other people, but it's like when you meet someone, and you have like a conflict with them, and then like a year later you meet someone who's very similar like energy, and you
Mm-hmm.
come at it maybe from a different point of view than originally you did, or you maybe you repeat the lesson. I'm not sure, but like whatever it is, it's like that kind of point. I find it's like more in that kind of energy that I take note of my response to certain things.
Yeah. And so, but that seems like but that's another additional tool, I think, is stepping back from situations and becoming the observer instead of
Yeah.
the feeler. And when you can step away from the situation and look at it from like a different perspective, if I were in their shoes, or just as a little conflict resolution, I find it's like, okay, this is just like me becoming attached to the
Hmm.
situation. But when I step away from it and I take care of myself, all of a sudden I realize like that's like such a small thing. But I
Hmm.
also think what you're touching on is kind of like a lot of signs and symbols. And like when we get signs, like you said, if it's an angel number, like I keep seeing 222, 222, like I
Yeah.
need to look this up, or I keep having the same issue with different people.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to change something. Maybe I need to look into this.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it sounds like you're able to take accountability for your own life too, and that you do your own self-healing journey. Like, so
Yeah.
that you can actually like be at not just a healthier person, but like a better, um, I guess, version of yourself.
Yeah. And it's like also like with even regards to doing readings, it's like the more healthy I am and the more balanced I am and the more able to like understand, it's like it's easier for me to like guide people in their own life. Like, there's moments where people are really um like confused or distraught or what have you. And it's like trying to figure out like, you know, through my own lived experience or vicariously living through other people's issues, like what have you, like learning through that and just knowing that like maybe this suggestion might be helpful or what have you. So it's like a lot of it stems from like, yeah, it's helpful for me in my own regard, but it's the like honestly, like it goes back to that like wanting to help people kind of thing. And in doing it from a place that, I am grounded, I am like, healthy, but also I'm giving people the best advice I can offer.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I like that because we only have like we never stop growing. That's the way I see it. So when it comes to the people that we're attracting in our life, I find like you're going to attract people with where you're at, right? So if your self-esteem is low, you're probably going to attract other people who have low self-esteem. Like I feel like people are vibrational matches there. If we are naturally happy people, we can also attract like happy people too.
Yeah.
However, I do feel like you were saying, there are some people that come along our path to show us what we need to change. And it's not
Mhm.
always like the vibrational match per se, as much as it is showing you like where your energy needs to be when
Yeah,
people are triggering you and triggering the beep out of you. It's like, oh,
exactly.
okay, this is not someone I want in my energy field.
Yeah.
But however, there's something that brought them to me.
Yeah.
And
And even like just like my response to them. I don't like how I responded to this person. What isn't it in me that's making me respond in a way that I don't like about myself? You know what I mean? It's like I
mm-hmm,
don't like that like quick like response is like, why am I reacting so strongly? Like why I should step back and look at like my motivations behind that reaction kind of thing. So
so when it comes to trusting the intuition, because like we already probably have a lot of these tools because we're like training to learn those tools.
yeah, yeah.
But for people that are really feeling lost, I guess, with like how to find their path, like what does their path mean,
Yeah.
how to find the right people in their life so they can feel more supported, like what are some ways do you think to start trusting and learning how to trust?
I can only speak from my personal experience because like I don't know, and I don't know how typical it is, like to be honest. But it's like for me, it's like I find like I truly trust in signs like 100%. And there's moments where it seems like the logical choice, like this seems like the right path to take, but then there's all these roadblocks, and then you're like confused. You're like, well, why is this not working out? And then there's those instances where maybe it doesn't seem like rational to go a certain path in life, but you just feel a calling or you feel like you're being guided towards that direction. And like those are the moments that I'm like, I mean, I've quit jobs, like I've just gone up and quit. And I'm like, I don't have any fallback plan, but then something falls into place because I really trust wholeheartedly in the universe, 100%, to a point that I probably seem like a lunatic. But it's like I really trust it because that's how my life has always panned out. Like I've just always had faith that things will work out and I'll be okay. And that's kind of like where I kind of base it on. And I mean, it might be not be the best advice in a logical sense, but in a sense of like fulfillment and like self betterment, I feel like that's just what works for me at least.
Mhm. Yeah, so what I'm getting there is more like positive thinking, like kind of like the law of attraction stuff. If
Yeah,
you can start
yeah,
visualizing positive things happening instead of negative things happening, because if you're constantly worrying about something that's going to not work out, then it's not going to work out.
yeah,
So you're choosing, in a way, you're choosing that. Like that's where the accountability, I feel like, comes up. It's like, well, what were you thinking about at that time?
yeah,
So yeah, I think hope and faith are really important things.
absolutely.
But what I've struggled with working with people, I did write a book in like 2014, and it was called How to Find Your Purpose. And in that book, I talk a lot about this stuff. But I feel like it can be, you don't want to come across like preachy,
Yeah.
like I believe in God and you should too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've struggled with saying the word God with like, and that's why when it came to writing my book, and I didn't really think I had God in it very much. And then I was like, holy crap, there's the word God's all through this.
Yeah.
So I realized, because I was just probably intuitively writing what I felt
Mm,
like was meant to come out. But
yeah.
I do find we have to be careful sometimes when it comes to religion or politics with certain people, because we can also trigger them that way too. Do you find?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I mean, I I was never really raised Christian. And
Mhm.
I even had like an aversion to the word Jesus for a really, really long time. And then I dreamt about Jesus, and it kind of completely flipped my perspective of what his essence, like what that represented. And it kind of made me think of things differently, because like for the longest time I kind of grouped his followers into like what he represented, and sometimes I didn't really agree with what some of his followers preached.
Mhm.
But then when I had that moment in my dream, and where it was like it kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, I get it. The essence of what you are, like I just get it. And it kind of changed things for me, because like, yeah, like it's just, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because in our Spirit Talker Tribe group, there are like need a lot of, I guess it's like
Indigenous.
native
Yeah.
traditions, right? Which if you're not native, you might not have those same traditions, and they might have certain ways of doing things that not everybody like shares.
Yeah.
However, I think that when there are leaders or mentors or people who are looking to help others, at the same time, like they're not going to change their beliefs for other people either. So that's one thing I've learned on my journey, is like now where I'm at, however many years later, 8 years later, because I plan to write again, which is fabulous. As you were saying, when you feel energetically called to certain circumstances. But now I feel like I wouldn't give two hoots about what words I were
Yeah.
choosing, in terms of like how somebody, it sounds horrible, but how somebody else is going to feel about it.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I feel like with intuition is, what's right for one person is not always right for somebody else. So as an intuitive, we can guide other people, but it
Yes.
also has to like resonate with that person. Like, does
Thousand.
this speak a truth to me? And if
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it won't later either. So I find if we're too quick to judge or push information away just because it's not sitting well with you, that can be something we still listen to.
Yeah.
However, I find we can also, I'm trying to think of the book, The Four Agreements. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes. I've never read it, but I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, one of the things, and I'm just starting to read a little bit, but that was a long time ago. But that's just what's popping up, is when you accept something as your truth, then that's what you're choosing, as it's kind of confusing, but that's what you're choosing to accept, essentially, right?
Mhm.
So if you read something, it's like, and we're sensitive and we're a sponge, like the news, we can actually absorb that energy, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that's right for you to hear or healthy for you to hear. So we can choose to listen to things that can almost like brainwash us.
Oh, 1,000%.
So if somebody's hurt you in the past and they told you were fat and ugly, something like that, like a sibling,
Yeah.
sometimes those are painful things or if we're in an abusive relationship and they are constantly telling you like, you're never going to get anybody better than me. And, and they keep your energy down. But if we choose to listen and absorb that, like, of course, eventually we're gonna feel like shit
Yeah.
if we don't clear that.
Yeah.
So I find when I do Reiki on people, I do a lot of clearings around people's ears, because if there are people who listen, sometimes
Mhm.
they've listened to almost like to too much, and we don't want to shut things off or block things off, but we want to be, again, aware of, like, I'm choosing to listen to this. I'm like not choosing, I'm choosing not to listen to this. And that's kind of where I find the shielding comes in,
Yeah.
because you can be present with somebody and not absorbing even what they're saying. And that, I don't think that's a bad thing either, as long as you're conscious of it, that you're doing it.
100%. Yeah, because it's it's like that idea of like your opinion of me has nothing to do with me. Like I like that expression. I've always enjoyed it because I'm like, it's so true because it's like I shouldn't base my decisions on what some person thinks of me. You know what I mean? Like it's like I should just do it because I want to do it and I need to do it. Like it's like you look at celebrities and the countless stories of like people saying, I was turned down for 60 movie roles. And then the 61st one was like, yeah, we'll give you a shot. And then you know what I mean? Like those instances where people persevered and they were able to overcome
Oh yeah.
obstacles or being turned down and they just did it anyway. Like like those instances of like trusting your gut and just continuing on is like really important.
Mm-hmm. And Nancy Anderson is saying exactly.
Awesome. Love me and Nancy.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of feel like your purpose, like your path and your purpose comes up, because to me that's like the most important thing, is following your spiritual path.
Yeah.
And if you're not listening to your intuition, if your third eye is blocked, then you might start to feel sometimes a little dark, sometimes a little down. And that's something worth looking into. That's why we probably go to readers and spiritual
Yeah,
healers and things like that.
exactly.
But it's, I feel like, to encourage people to not feel any type of shame in having issues or problems or not being on your path. Because I've had people who wouldn't want to come to me because their energy was negative.
Oh, like they're worried about you perceiving that or
Yeah, like, oh, like I didn't want to, like, I know you're sensitive to energy, so like, and I'm not feeling positive, so like, and I was feeling anxious, so I didn't want to come to my appointment.
oh,
And
okay.
I'm thinking, like, if I were worried about that, I wouldn't be doing this for
Yeah.
business. Like, the whole point is that I'm looking after me and I'm here, and then I'm holding space for you to come in just the way that you are, to help support you and redirect you and guide you to the best of my ability, to make you feel better. The goal is to make you feel better. So if you're already coming in feeling better, you might not even notice much of a change. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
like it's like yeah, it's like if you're like I get what you're saying. It's like if you weren't coming me like I don't know how to phrase it, but it's like yeah, I'm the same. Like I will go to a reader if especially if I need clarity on something or if I feel like you know there's some guidance unnecessary, what have you. But if I'm like feeling really good, I typically don't go as often,
Mhm.
just because like I just feel like I'm in an okay place that I'm just trusting where I'm going, where my you know I'm being led. But yeah, I totally get that, and like I mean it makes sense. So
But on the other hand, I feel like I've had the other situations too where they've canceled their appointment because they're like, no, I'm actually feeling pretty good.
yeah,
But it's also like, well, we also do things like health and wellness as maintenance, right? A lot of it can also be preventative, because you don't wait till you feel really crappy to go do things. You do things on a regular basis as a maintenance, and you continue to grow and get better, right? So if we're like, oh, I feel good, and like we don't do anything for say a month for ourselves, and then it's like, oh crap, that's why I shouldn't have canceled that appointment. I should have like kept the energy going, because there's always something that we can work on. But we can also become overly spiritual too,
yeah,
and kind of become obsessive with the spirit world too.
yeah.
And like you said, some people might judge you that you're crazy or stuff like that. But I think it's also important, the body, mind, and spirit, and understanding exactly what that means. What does the body mean? What does the spirit mean? What what does the mind mean? And when you can kind of work on all of those things, um,
100%. Yeah,
then the spiritual is kind of, I find, like, just flows better.
yeah.
Or it's the icing on the cake, but it's like just as important as, like, spiritual is just as important as eating your breakfast, lunch, and supper, brushing your teeth morning and night.
Yeah.
Do you
And that's
find?
oh, and that's the thing is like I'm in that phase of the physical 100% right now. Cause it's like, I definitely, and I mean, I definitely didn't do things in a balanced way, which I don't recommend, but it's like, yeah, like I'm in the phase of life where I'm just really adamant about, improving my health and making sure that I am more grounded and that I am like doing things in that way, because like you said, you get tapped into the spiritual world. And yeah, sometimes that vibration is so nice, you don't really want to leave it. And I get it, like 1,000%. But at the same time, it can be draining. And it's like, the last little bit of my life has just been more focused on the physical piece, because I've lived in my head for my whole life. Like I've always been someone who kind of like is really daydreamy and like doesn't really interact with people. And it's like, I kind of forget sometimes that I'm human. Like, it's like I'm actually on this physical world and I have to do the things that people do. And, I'm just like in this new phase of like, okay, if I want to like accomplish like what I'm like my goals in life, I actually have to like be a person and like do person things. So it's like, I've kind of shifted in that sense, because yeah, you kind of can forget sometimes.
And that's where I think that's where we all have a different path. And when we're not comparing ourselves from like one person's journey to the next, it becomes a lot easier when we're more focused on ourselves and not what everybody else is doing, trying to look like that person or be like that person. And that's where the intuition will always guide you. What am I supposed to do today? What is my ritual supposed to be for my AM today? It doesn't always have to be like every morning I get up and I have my herbal tea and I do my meditation. I do my 10-minute meditation. Look at me. I'm so spiritual. And it's like, this came up for someone recently with me anyway. I said, well, maybe you could work on your intuition more and start listening to what you feel like your ritual is supposed to be. So you're getting more joy out of these tasks that you're doing, and that they don't have to be the same thing every single day. You might be guided towards a walk in the woods one morning, we'll say with your dog, and another morning it might be having like a social tea with a friend. So I find it's listening in to by asking questions. So if we don't ask questions, we don't get answers.
100%. Yeah.
So, and then I guess that's where prayer can come in too, because often we use prayers for like when we'll say when something bad happens, right? We don't always use, some people pray every day and pray for everything. And then other people just wait till like there's a death or they're sick or something.
Yeah.
And I would say I've been guilty of that, because I didn't start to pray until I was really sick.
Yeah.
But I find with prayers, we can use prayers, yes, for healing for other people, but we can also like combine prayers with just talking to the universe. I feel like it doesn't have to be like you in church with your hands together type of thing. It can be like at nighttime asking for tomorrow to just be like a wonderful and happy, healthy day, kind of
Yeah.
like intention setting. Or you can ask for tomorrow for there to be a sign that you're on the right path,
Yeah.
or for there to be a sign when you're on the wrong path.
Yeah.
Like,
No, definitely.
so I think that's where some people get a little twisted when it comes to the whole prayers and religion stuff. And then we kind of feel like we have to tippy toe on what words to choose. Oh, spirit or a spirit guide or an angel. And I find it feels like some people are just nervous to tap into any of that. Do you
Yeah.
find?
I feel like I was fortunate in the sense that I didn't have that strict upbringing.
Mhm.
So I never felt like, no, I mean, prayer has always been part of my life, but not in like a formal count your rosaries and, you have to say so many Hail Marys or what have you. It was never like that. I never understood that piece, and not that there's anything wrong with it. I just
Right.
never grew up with it as like part of my life. So, but yeah, like one thing I was in regard to what you were talking about earlier, about like the praying before bed, what have you. That's like something I often like give to people, especially if they're like in really not so great energy and they're like racked with guilt or grief or what have you. Is that like I offer that like before they go to sleep is to just pray to their everyone, like the creator, their ancestors, what have you, that they ask that they take away their burden, like visualize like them carrying like a Santa Claus sack on their back and like handing it over to their people and just saying like just can you please take it from me so that I can get a good sleep tonight and I can feel rested, and then tomorrow I can feel better. And even like that simple, like, and I think sometimes adding that visual component sometimes can help as well. But yeah, like that traditional prayer is like a prayer, but it might not look a little differently than what people are accustomed to. So
Yeah, and I just keep getting like ask and you shall receive.
exactly. Yeah.
So if you're just waiting, like, 1999, I prayed and my prayer didn't come true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's like things don't always come in that's where control comes up too. I find you can't always control outcomes. So if you say that you want something and you're asking for that, be open not just to receiving the signs, but be open to kind of like dealing with what's coming at you too, because there
Yeah.
might be something you need to actually initiate or change in your life in order for you to get those like blessings that you want. So
Yeah.
when you're being pushed, we'll say, or nudged by the universe to leave your partner or something like that, right? But you're hanging on because you don't want to hurt the person, or you don't want to have to tell them the truth, or and then but it's like you can know that the signs are there, but then you actually have to do the
Do the
work.
work. Yes, exactly.
And yeah, and then that's when I find that's when people's spiritual paths start to change
Yeah.
and they become less happy, and then they just accept that that's the way it's going to be forever.
Mhm.
And that to me is sad, that people would just like settle for mediocre lives
Yeah.
because it takes too much energy to change it.
1,000%. I mean, and it is like there is something to be said about choosing comfort over maybe what's healthy. And
Mhm.
even like, you know what I mean? And I think it comes into that as well as like with regard to everything, like every aspect of life, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, like it's all like intertwined with like, choosing complacency over growth.
Mhm. Or like weight loss is a good
Exactly.
example.
Yeah, 100%. It's like eating well. Like, yeah, I can eat like a frozen dinner, or I can like prepare something that's really healthy and nutritious. Definitely 100%. Yeah.
And if people were to stop and take more time to actually tap into their intuition, what am I supposed, like, I feel like putting my hand on my solar plexus and my stomach and just like connecting to that area of your body, which is where you carry a lot of emotions and like creativity. And it's just listening in. What am I supposed to have for supper tonight? Like
Yeah.
what am I meant to have? And that's something I've been working on is I'll walk into the grocery store and I just want to get like 3 or 4 items. I have no idea what I'm getting,
Yeah.
but I just energetically go through the grocery store. And yesterday I picked up some granola, some raspberries, actually some white wine, and something else. But oh, it was like some peppers with stuffed fresh peppers with like cheese. And for me, that was like made me feel so good that I was taking charge of my own life with food
Yeah.
and just like trusting that the items that I'm picking up are the ones that I'm supposed to be getting. And I think sometimes we overthink so much that it's like, oh, well, so and so would probably like this. So I'll pick that up for them too. I'll put that in the cart. Oh, well, we'll probably run out of milk on Thursday. So I better get that. And then, like, oh, this is on sale. So I'll pick that up. And then you might have lost touch with like tuning into what you are supposed to be like working on,
Yeah. 100%.
going back into taking care of the family and stuff.
Yeah, and like that's definitely a theme that's playing out in my life currently, because it's like, yeah, like there's I'm making dietary changes kind of like forced into it, but
Mhm.
it's great because like I have like high inflammation levels.
Yeah.
And I'm just like right now it's like I'm very conscious of like the effect food is having on me when I really wasn't before.
Mhm.
Where it's like, yeah, if I eat that cookie, I'm not gonna feel as good if I eat like the berries, you know what I mean? Like it's like very much registering like, oh, I really need to make these changes. And even like regardless of weight loss at this point, it's like it's just about like energy and feeling better, because like that's like the priority is like I mean that would be a great side effect of all of the other like the changes, but it's like it's just kind of like a priority of like making that shift and being more mindful and conscious of what I'm like consuming. And like that consumption piece is like consuming media, consuming the thoughts that are like the words people say about us, like that, like just being like, you know what I mean? It kind of transcends like just food, but it's like everything we
Yeah,
consume.
it's toxic.
Exactly.
And a lot of times people aren't able to recognize if they're already feeling negative. Like some people are less tuned in, like because they're less open, I guess. Like because when we're
Yeah.
feeling negative, we're just not in an open space. So of course we're gonna probably choose the bag of potato chips or the ice cream, or to stay inside when you can go outside, because it's like a lot of people will self-sabotage when they're feeling negative,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they create that vicious cycle. So it's like, okay, take a breath, I'm feeling negative. And then it's those little reminders. What are my tools? Is it, okay, I'm going to do 3 positive I am statements. I am beautiful. I am strong. Like I am overcoming obstacles. And I find affirming and breathing the things that you want to feel, as you were saying, through visualization, through speaking out loud, positive words. All of a sudden we notice that our vibration will start to change. But if you don't believe that that works, or you don't believe in what you're saying, we can self-sabotage ourselves that way and create our own block before we've even gotten the good from it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cause it's like, I mean, I don't think, I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't recommend affirmations for someone who doesn't believe in what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and maybe I'm wrong on that, because maybe if you continue doing it, maybe you shift your views on that. But it's like, yeah, no, totally. Like it's really easy to get bogged down and just to like not see how things can change. So it's, I mean, it's one of those things, it's easier said than done 100%. But if you can get past those moments of like, I can't do this, and switch it to I can do this, it's like, it can just really make a huge difference in your life. I mean, it's one of those things that it's like yeah, like you just can't do, if you can't believe you're going to do it, it just won't happen. So
Exactly. So yeah, I kind of wrote down here, like, see self in a positive mental space,
mhm.
because you were saying, well, I might not recommend that, maybe I'm wrong, but it's okay. Well, see your positive qualities,
Mm.
see your strengths, what is going right, as you were saying,
Yes,
what
yeah.
what are what are your best qualities. So if you could list your top 2 best qualities just off the top of your head intuitively, what would come up for you?
For me personally,
Yeah.
um like like it's like, I mean, I actually do like myself, like I'm learning
Good.
to really like myself. So it's just, it's been a hard one, but
if you
like,
relate if you relate it to, you were talking about like inflammation in your body, which is like
yeah,
like that's irritating
yeah,
probably.
absolutely,
So if you
yeah.
relate it to that, but what are the positive things that are going right in your stomach or in your body right now?
um Sorry, I don't know why. Okay, so yeah, in terms of just like a physical healing kind of sense, like just I like that I'm being more mindful of just like bettering myself, even like just a physical, like, I don't know, this sounds like maybe kind of like um self no, what's it called, I'm sorry, I'm fumbling on my words now. I was like, I can't think of the word. It's like where you better yourself on a like physical level. That's like, you don't just remember, like surf. I can't think of the word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's like,
It can be health, like that you're feeling healthier.
yes. Well, it's like, I'm like, even like, it's like, I'm just trying to use an example of like walking. Like I've been doing a lot of changes recently on like a physical level
Yeah.
that I haven't done in a long time. It's like, even putting on makeup some days, like, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I like things like that where like, I really neglected myself for so long.
Mhm.
And I just like, I kind of like going back to what I said about not feeling a person, not feeling like, I just kind of like felt like a ball, like just floating through life and
Mhm.
not like really, engaged with life. And it's like, there's like this, I'm in this stage of my journey where, yeah, like I'm focusing on me and seeing myself as like a person, and like wanting to put more effort into my appearance, wanting to get healthier, wanting to engage more with people and be more like
Healthier.
outgoing, like that kind of thing. Like, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah. So just out of like those first couple of things that you said, so like a couple I am statements that you could say are, because everybody has positive qualities.
oh,
Everybody can switch it over to something positive when they're feeling negative. That's all I'm saying, is that when we're going through a negative time in our life, you can see positive things, sure, coming out of the situation, but if you just focus on yourself and like what you like about yourself, what's going right in your life. So if it's like, we'll just say if it's, I have inflammation, and but it's like, okay, well, if you like, if there was something going right in that situation, it might be like you were saying, I'm changing
yeah,
my lifestyle right now.
yeah, exactly.
So like you said, you're more mindful. So you could say an affirmation like, I am mindful. I am mindful of my body. I am mindful of my spirit. I am, because when we say those affirmations, that's us like vibrating that and attracting that. So yeah, maybe if you don't feel like you're doing it at the level you want to be doing it at, you're still doing it. And by affirming that you're doing it, it's also telling like spirit what you're up to.
Yeah, 100%.
And
Yeah, no.
also how you want to feel. And then another one would be, I am bettering myself.
Mm,
I am bettering myself every day. I am bettering myself and helping other people every day. Like, I just find even we can intuitively write these things down
yeah,
daily. And I find just through the writing experience, it can be really helpful. And I find intuitive writing really supportive, because nobody else needs to see it. And we're not thinking, we're just writing. I know
yeah.
a lot of people have blocks that way, but sometimes it's actually just easier than trying to speak something out loud.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like
So,
I definitely prefer to write things out than to say them out loud sometimes, just because like it is, sometimes it comes easier and it flows more, and you can go back and like take out a word and like put in a different word in there, so it, it definitely resonates to me on that level.
me too. That's like a probably one of my favorite things to do, is just write out my intuitive thoughts to get them out.
Yeah,
Because when I do my readings anyway, like I'll come on and do it live and do a reading, just because I feel like I'm being guided to, and it's like, okay, I'm getting these intuitive messages, I've got to get them out. Otherwise, I feel like if I weren't going to speak them and release it that way, I would have to write it all down, because
yeah,
otherwise it feels like it's just energy coming in that doesn't want to stay there. And I feel like you can physically run it off. You can eat it off. Like you can try to, you can watch TV it off, but I find like we need to express it out of our bodies. And I find writing can be a very close way to speaking,
yeah.
especially when we're by ourselves.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, that really speaks to me 100%, because it's like, you know, like there's I feel like there's something, I think we all have something to express in this life, like there's a Wayne Dyer quote, it's like, don't die with your music still in you, or something like that. And it's like, and I do feel like that's something that's like maybe part of the inflammation issue, is just that there's like a creative piece that that I would like to, relay to the world. And it's like, putting the pen to paper and actually doing it. Because I can really, like that, like fantasy land, like living in fantasy world and just visualizing things, but never putting it down into like that concrete reality.
Mhm.
It's something that like I definitely feel is part of the lesson with the inflammation. So like, yeah, like absolutely 1,000% yes with everything you just said.
And Louise Hay is really, really good for affirmations as well. Just for, you probably already know all that stuff, but just for other people listening, how to
Yeah,
heal your body, is you can get that in a book form. And just when you have something going on, you can look it up, and then there's a positive affirmation that you can say to shift the energy.
yeah,
But you can also just Google it and get a list of it as well, which is nice nowadays. Everything's so free.
yeah, exactly.
So I would recommend that to anybody if you're having like a knee injury or something like that, because often we'll complain about our injuries, or we'll complain about our swelling, and I'm in pain today. And I've really fallen into that trap too. I've had a lot of inflammation, digestive health issues. And it's been quite a journey. But one thing I've learned, like you were saying, is to just sometimes you just have to, well, I prayed to get help for it, but I also had to take action, right? I had to go to a natural path. Um, like I've taken courses that I didn't expect to be so, I guess, helpful on the spiritual and energy side of things. Working with psychics and things like that. You wouldn't think that working with people like that would be so helpful for the physical body. But I find, as I was saying, it all goes hand in hand. You can get help with anything, right? So I'm really pro um, the alternative medicine
Same. Yeah.
route because I didn't get help in the other direction.
Yeah.
However, that was a part of my path, but now I've learned with all the COVID stuff going on, I've learned a lot more about myself, about the science side of things too.
Mhm.
And now I'm not like, when I've learned about medications and stuff along the way too, that it's like really good to be balanced with the alternative, like the arts and the science. And if you can kind of become that well-rounded person, you're just, all you're doing is just opening up your mind even more instead of being anti things. You're kind of like pro everything.
Exactly. Exactly. No, I 100% agree with you because it's like, I think like I go to a naturopath. I stopped for a bit and I just started going again. And it's like one of those things where it's like, I'm not going to rule out medical, like Western medicine.
Mhm.
I'm kind of forced to go to like a naturopath because Western medicine isn't really working for me right now. And it's not that I'm like pushing aside one or the other. It's just kind of like I'm being kind of guided by like the universe or, a spirit to go this route because maybe that's what I need right now. But absolutely, I think everything's interconnected anyway. And it's like, yeah, like when I fall down and hurt my knee, sometimes I go online and I look up like, spiritually, what does knee pain represent in terms of like moving forward in this life? You know what I mean? To help me get through that physical ailment. Like sometimes it's just like working through that a bit to just maybe understand on a spiritual side of things why I'm having that issue right now.
And you said you're a big thinker, and I can say I've always been a deep thinker, but I've attracted a lot of overthinkers. And
Yeah.
that's something I feel like is a theme for me. I'm really working on is like letting go of the overanalyzing, the overthinking, the overdoing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you recommend for people? Because you said you're like that, somewhat like that, or you have been, for people who like they do all the right things, but they're still like doubting themselves. They're still like falling into the trap of thinking.
Yeah.
What would you
Um,
say?
I think there's like a lot of different things you can do because it's like for me, like for example, like I have ADHD symptoms.
Mhm.
So like in terms of like working on things and having that motivation piece and delving into that, sometimes like I look up like ADHD strategies. So like one of them, for example, is I literally put on videos of people studying on my TV while I'm doing work. Like, and it sounds like, I mean, that's very just like very specific example,
Yeah.
but it's like, trying to figure out and delving into it for yourself, because like literally like, what works for me, it might not work for someone else. But like for that, just like that piece alone is like, I know I struggle with ADHD. Like I mean, I'm chaotic person in a lot of ways, but like in terms of like writing and thoughts and like presenting my thoughts, I can be pretty clear and concise, but it's like, I have to have strategies to work with that energy. So yeah, I put on YouTube videos of people literally studying so I can study with them at the same time.
Oh,
Like,
that's such a good idea.
yeah, like it's actually really helpful. And it's like, it's been really beneficial to have that. But like that, and just like, like, cause they have scheduled breaks in the videos. So then and oftentimes I work through the breaks, but it's nice to just like be like, okay, I'm going to work for the next 4 hours on this specific project and I'm going to devote all my attention to it. And I have this coworker that I have on the screen that I'm working with, and it works like that. So
That's neat because I don't think a lot of people would do that. So it's like a really good idea just for someone that feels like they need more focus. It sounds
yeah,
like.
I found it really helpful. It's like YouTube or Google or what have you. It's like study with me, like videos, and there's a
Cool.
lot.
So
Yeah.
maybe when you're finished this, well, any info for your tarot stuff or whatever you want to share, but that cord cutting that you mentioned, I also have a cord
Yeah.
cutting video underneath my YouTube channel, so I'll share that too. But yeah, and
Okay.
maybe that also that other video that you were just saying to help
Yeah.
people with focus when they're doing things. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
For me, I have found like just having love in my life has been really, really supportive for not thinking really anymore.
That
Because
makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
yeah, because like my partner brings me joy and
Mhm.
he's also a support system for me. So when I feel like there's something on my mind, I have him to share it with and
Yeah.
then actually listen back to what he's saying about it so I don't feel so alone or in my head. Because yeah, you can be intuitive, but you still need other people. Like you can't just say like, oh, I'm a healer and I'm an intuitive and I don't need readings from other people. Or like I get readings all the time and I find that also really supportive because then I'm not in my head about a situation. I'm just like, I'm going to book a reading. I'm questioning this relationship that I'm having with this person. The energy feels off, but I just want to like double check with her what she's intuitively feeling. And I find the more people we go to, like to get, it's not like to get, I don't want to say confirmation, but sometimes we need a little reassurance to make sure that the decisions that we're making are like positive, I guess, because we
Yeah.
don't know until we do something. But I do think it's important to not be fear-based and like be love-based, but also trust that you like can make your support systems bigger so that yeah, so that you can trust yourself more. Like the more you can, I find, listen to other intuitives, then you'll start to feel more confident in your own intuitive abilities.
Yeah, because
Like
100%. Yeah, because it's like I know people they kind of start sometimes they struggle with like, am I reading too much into this, or is it in my imagination or what have you? And it's like sometimes like having like especially with like Spirit Talker Tribe and like
mhm,
having that like that group and having that like that community, it's really great sometimes to like be like, oh, I had something similar happen to me, or oh, I love that you shared that with me. Like I like it kind of encourages people to like, delve into that a little more and trust like themselves and trust in spirit. So yeah.
absolutely, because I had a dream last night. I had a friend that like we weren't close or anything, but we went to our grade 9 prom together and we've come across each other's path here and there. And I knew he was like really suffering and going through a lot of issues, but I didn't know the extent of it. And like, how would I guess, because we weren't close. But I
Yeah.
found out he had committed suicide not long ago and I was really shocked. And last night I dreamt about him in two different dreams and it felt so real. Like it was so
Aw.
deep and we were dancing together and I don't know, it was like a really positive dream and it obviously was like a visitation. He was visiting me, but that doesn't happen to me a lot, but I've been feeling really connected to him lately. So it was a positive thing, but I wanted to put in the group like just I don't know, just to share it.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I feel like not hesitating when you get those nudges, like letting go of what other people think about you and
Mhm.
just trust that when you get the urge to do something, to just do it instead of hesitating. But I
Yeah.
do think when we have hesitation, that's something to work through as well. Like it's okay to have fear, it's okay to have doubts, it's okay to have pullbacks because again, I think the timing of things is really important. Like maybe I needed to talk to you about that first before I share it. I don't know why, because maybe it needed to come up in this conversation for somebody else to hear.
Yeah.
But
And I felt like this
yeah.
whole conversation today has been like one thing after another that you've mentioned that I'm like, need to work on that piece. I need to work on that piece, which has been great because it's like, it's confirmation too, where it's like I mean that's the thing. I'm very open to growth. I want to grow. I want to better myself. So it's like it's been really refreshing in that sense of just being like, thank you, Spirit, and thank you, Robin, for like
Oh.
reminding me of like where I need to like work on and what things I need to do. Cause like sometimes we can get bogged down and be like, one track mind or like headed towards a goal without like really thinking like, well, maybe this piece might help me in with regard to that. So
And if you're scared to do something, like sometimes that's an indication that you're going to be doing something really big,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and instead of being like, oh, I'm too scared, I'm so scared, it's like, okay, this is just means like I'm about to do something amazing.
Exactly.
So
I don't want to mess
yeah.
it up. So like, yeah, of course you're really worried about it and apprehensive because it means so much to you.
But it's talking to other people. Hey, I'm a little nervous about this, you know, like they might have some advice for you. Or if your nervous system is really shaky, like just, yeah, maybe it's time to take care of the body a bit more and prepare yourself for those things, right? Organizing your time a little better, your money, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
this whole podcast has been a series of aha moments. Anna Maria, I don't know if I'm saying that right.
And Maria,
Um, and Nancy Anderson said, yes, I listened to Louise Hay for her affirmations, which is awesome. Kelly's saying hi. And Nancy said, you ladies are great.
oh, you guys are all so amazing. Hi,
Yes.
everyone. Hey,
And you are so right about following your spiritual path. So that's nice to know that people are resonating. And I
yeah.
did pull up a card just as a final thing. It says, have faith in your dreams. And it has a little butterfly and like flower and moon on the card.
Is it the Moonology deck?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
I have that deck. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people do actually. Yes, you said the name correctly. I did. Awesome. I usually don't. So yeah, I kind of feel like that just sums up like the whole thing. Have faith in your dreams.
Yeah, I agree.
That it's the faith word is really important, that you don't have to live this half-ass life. Like you can
Yeah.
hope for more, you can dream for more, you can pray
Yeah,
for
exactly.
more, and don't feel guilty about asking for more. If it's more money, a better job, a better relationship, like there's nothing wrong with wanting more. Like it's
100%.
about it, you have one life to live, and it's in the end, I hate to say it this way, but it's just you know, like
Yeah,
you're not it's you're not going to have other people with you when it's time to, you know, go.
exactly.
It's going to be all about you. So it's all about the choices that you've chose to make along the path, not everybody else. So we want to feel good about it. So I'm just going to do some energy clearings, just some theta healing if you're okay with it. So all you have to do is say yes.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
would you like to let go of anything that might be holding you back from living your healthiest and best version life? And if so, just say yes.
Yes.
And then just take a deep cleansing breath. And would you like to know that you can climb mountains, move mountains, do bigger and brighter things for yourself when you feel like the timing is right?
Yes.
Would you like to know that you can have balance in your personal life and in your work life, and that it doesn't always have to feel so out of balance?
Yes.
Would you like to let go of any judgment that you have felt towards yourself or others along the way? We're going to let that go on all 4 levels. So that's on a historical, genetic, on a soul or core level, and that's how it wants to. No, past life. But past life doesn't seem like it wants to be in there. But we're going to say past life for anyone else that they feel called
Yeah.
to that. And let's replace that with trusting in your vibes, trusting that your intuition is there to guide you. And would you like the creator or the universe's definition of what intuition really means, and start living around that and start feeling into that so that you can use it to your best ability and essentially help yourself and others?
Yes.
Good. And then we just integrate it. So we just let all of that stuff just to start coming in. So that might be instantly, or that might be way down the road, but we're just opening up to that.
Mhm. I already feel it, so I think it's working.
Yeah. Like I'm getting a lot of messages, so you're obviously very sensitive, and so are the people watching. But one thing that I could suggest for everyone is just around judgment. That felt like the strongest, where if we have a lot of chatter in our head, which I think we're all quite strong intuitives, but really deep thinkers as a group, the judgment piece is something we want to shift over to love. So it's like every time you catch yourself judging, whether it's yourself or others, think as we were saying, like a loving thought about yourself, if you can possibly think of a loving thought about that person, even though they might be annoying the crap out of you, it might be like wearing some rose quartz around your neck or putting it in your bra around your heart, just something like that. It feels like work more with that love aspect. And if there are people in your life too that you find are really judgmental or unloving, then maybe that's something to assess as well.
Yeah,
Sound good?
absolutely.
I'm so happy we connected. I had no
That was
idea what
awesome.
was going to happen, and it was awesome.
I know, I really appreciate this. It was a
Yeah,
real pleasure talking to you today, and
good.
I felt like it was a really good conversation. It flowed well, so thank you
Good.
so much.
You're welcome. And so when we get off of here, I'm going to disappear, just so you know. I'm not hanging up on you.
Okay.
And I'll also share with you the YouTube video as well. So if you
Perfect.
want that, you can share it out too. All right.
Okay, great.
Okay. Have a great weekend.
You
And
too.
everybody else. Bye.
Bye.